So this video's been promised for a while, and I decided to just do it. Clean up the horrifically charred backburner and finally get this done. Introducing all the cut items I could find for Enter the Gungeon. This is going to be split into several parts, items that have Ammonomicon entries that accompany them, items that don't, items that only exist as orphaned text strings, etc. I will also put a series of timestamps both on the screen right now and in the video description so you can skip around as you please, because I realize that this video might get a bit long. Since the ones with descriptions are fewer in number and more interesting, they'll be going first. I see no need to prolong this description any further, you already know what the video's all about, so let's begin. Brittle bullets. Risk reward. Greatly increases firepower. All equipped ammunition will shatter upon receiving damage. It takes an idiot to do cool things. That's why it's cool. Apparently, this item can appear in the Paradox's loadout as part of a glitch, causing the held gun to splinter everywhere upon the player taking damage and needing to be recollected from all around the room before it becomes usable once more. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get footage of this glitchy, unfinished effect, but if anyone does manage to capture it and I learn about it after the publication of this video, I'll add it to the description so hopefully you can get a more visual explanation. Ceremonial sword. The S word. A ceremonial sword. Not for combat. Bladed weaponry would normally incite the wrath of the jammed, but this ceremonial sword is blunted and cannot be used for combat. It's unclear what the ceremonial sword would do, but its description is stored under the title of Cool Sword, meaning it's possible that the sword would affect the coolness stat. Q-bullets. Bulletkin, corner pocket. Substantially increases knockback on kills. Enemies hit by corpses take damage. A prominent Gungeoneer of a bygone era named Blast Eddie famously used these bullets to outshoot his rival in one of Winchester's games. Apparently, this would make every enemy killed act like one smacked with Casey. Also, it introduces us to the unusual lore character of Blast Eddie, seen nowhere else in the game, and also gives mention of his strange and unseen rival. These 4 items I've already gone over in my unused content of a Farewell to Arms video. The Emerald Bracelet, the Fairy Wings, the Hunter's Journal, and the Hero's Sword. The reason why I went over them there is because they can be cheated into the game using Mod the Gungeon, and actually used as of the Farewell to Arms update. Long story short, the Emerald Bracelet makes guns you throw come back, the Fairy Wings let you fly, leaving charming goop when you roll, the Hunter's Journal increases the drop rate, and the Hero's Sword is an active item that lets you shiv enemies for high damage but with dangerously low range. Emerald Bracelet. Thrown guns return. The emeralds in this bracelet are extremely jealous. They will force any thrown gun to return just so no other hand can hold them. Fairy Wings. Enchantment? A pair of enchanted wings which grant flight. Your caterpillar friend has metamorphosed into a wondrous creature, and that wondrous creature is a spine fly, which burrows into the spinal columns of vertebrates. The survivors of this parasite sprout wings. Hunter's Journal. Luck or skill. Slightly increases drop rate, filled with maps and the answers to half-forgotten riddles. Ever since the hunter was a child, she had a knack for finding things. And Hero's Sword. Enter the Gungeon. An elegant weapon, though perhaps obsolete. Now, in case you were wondering what that talk of caterpillars was in the description of the Fairy Wings, that leads us right into the next unused item. A companion called the Hungry Caterpillar. It's still spawnable via the console, but it doesn't really do anything. Here's its description. Hungry Caterpillar. Feeds on hearts. There is a caterpillar following you. It appears to be hungry for hearts. Modders have been able to determine that the caterpillar would have originally eaten heart drops in one form or another, and upon eating enough, it would metamorphise into the Fairy Wings. Whether or not the caterpillar had other effects beyond this metamorphosis is unknown. Following in the vein of cut companions, we have the Raccoon. Raccoon. Sly Scooper. Helps to navigate dangerous areas. In another era, this raccoon was a very successful thief. However, after dabbling in time travel, he became obsessed and put an end to his thieving career in favour of the infinite treasure of the Gungeon. This little trash gremlin was originally meant to physically carry the player through dangerous trap rooms in the Gungeon without any harm to them. This effect was also discovered by modders and is so functional that the raccoon has already been modded back into the game by certain folks. There is this Reddit post explaining that the raccoon won't be added because he was called away on a sneaking mission, but the real reason for his removal is unknown. Finally, for unused companions with Ammonomicon entries, or at least what I assume to be a companion, the Fairweather Friend. Fairweather Friend. While the going is good, a hanger-on to the healthy and prosperous. We don't know what the Fairweather Friend looked like or how they acted. The most we can assume is that they would abandon you once things started to go south in your Gungeon run. Friends like these, eh? Next up, the Monster Ball. A thinly veiled Pokeball, the Monster Ball is described thusly. Monster Ball. 100% catch rate. Captures enemies and charms them upon release. Ancient monster trainers tried to use these balls to domesticate inhabitants of the Gungeon. According to local legend, Calx threw one of these at a beholster. It didn't work. However, it did force the beast to blink, which allowed Calx to escape. More proof, if any was needed, that eccentric big-game gunsmith Calx is insane. Also, nice little anecdote to tell the player it doesn't work on bosses. Now entering the ring. A ring. The Ring of Giant Strength, to be more precise. Ring of Giant Strength. Throw harder. Increases thrown weapon damage. This ring bestows incredible physical strength. Unfortunately, there are a few benefits to physical strength in the Gungeon. It's really a shame that more of these thrown gun items didn't make it into the game, because they may well have been able to make throwing guns a viable strategy. Maybe. Another ring referencing another character in Gungeon lore is the Ring of Lightning Resistance. Ring of Lightning Resistance. Grounded. Prevents damage from electricity. A ring originally worn by Alistair the Thunderbolt. The gemstone set in the golden band is cracked down the middle. While electrical hazards do appear in the Gungeon in the form of electrified water, its appearance is so situational and rare that it's barely worth mentioning. Plus, the robot is already immune to this form of electricity. Electricity immunity was added as one of the effects of the Hazmat Suit item, which also protects against the electrical beams from the Shockwave modifier in Challenge mode, possibly another form of electrical damage that the Ring of Lightning Resistance would have protected against. The final source of electrical damage I can think of is Tazies, which the Hazmat Suit doesn't protect against. Take that all as you will. Another cut item referencing Alistair the Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt. Shrinks and dazes. Shrinks and dazes enemies for a brief period of time. Said to contain the soul of a famous Gungeoneer. We already know that Alistair died in the Gungeon, and it looks like this item literally contains his trapped soul. Some people who die in the Gungeon are never seen again, some come back, and some become ghosts, and the really unlucky ones get turned into active items and shoved in a chest. Also, the effect of shrinks and dazes is quite literal. Modder Apache Thunder discovered an unusual effect in Gungeon's code that would literally cause enemies to reduce in size, presumably intended to be used by this item. Katana. Sword of Doom. Swordplay is forbidden, and only the most powerful or most ignorant individuals can get away with using any melee weaponry. Angers the Jammed. Like the hero's sword, I used to think that the katana was a gun, but now I'm not so sure. Both its sprite and description are stored in amongst other passives and actives, a treatment no other gun gets, so why would the katana be any different? Possibly something to do with the ninja, but we can't be sure. Scroll of Wonder! Wonder, wonder, wonder! A transformative spell of incredible power. The wizard Albin Smallbore theorized that the more power was put into a spell, the less could be known about its outcome. This spell is immensely powerful. This item references the lore character of Albin Smallbore, a strange wizard who would enchant items in weird ways just because he could. The description of this item implies that it would be incredibly unpredictable, which makes me think that it'd have a random effect. The line about it being transformative could just mean the spell itself transforms, but it could also mean that the spell is designed to transform something else. Another piece of paper comes in the form of the Thirst for Vengeance. Thirst for Vengeance. Taking you with me. Slaying an enemy just before dying prevents death. Sometimes, getting even is all you've got left. This one is pretty self-explanatory. You kill something, it prevents your death. Moving on. Almost done with the items with Ammonomicon entries, we have 2 unused table techs. Table tech Hole. Flip Oblivion. This forbidden technique causes flipped tables to increase exponentially in mass, collapsing almost immediately. An apocryphal text of the Tabla Sutra, of which we cannot flip, we must pass over in silence. And Tabletech Life, Children of the Flip. This forgotten technique causes flipped tables to gain sentience, however briefly. An apocryphal text of the Tabla Sutra. This ancient scroll invokes the table grammaton, the 4-letter name of table. Tabletech Hole is obvious. You flip a table and it makes a black hole. Simple enough. Tabletech Life is more interesting. While its effect is also spelled out very clearly, I struggle to imagine bringing a bunch of tables to life and having them presumably run around attacking enemies. It sounds like beautiful, beautiful chaos. The only real issue is that it would have to work visually for tables, stone tables, coffins, metal tables, and portable tables, which would be a lot of work to implement. And the final item with an Ammonomicon entry is a Master Round. The ultimate Master Round. Master Round. Final Chamber. This impossible artifact indicates mastery of the final chamber. A holy shell. Simply looking upon it bestows a great peace upon your soul. The Gungeon is at rest. This is an unused Master Round for Bullet Hell, confirmed by the text dumps calling its entry Mastery Token Hell. Mastery Token, by the way, is the internal term for Master Round. This item on its own is an exciting prospect, as it confirms to us that no single Gungeoneer, or indeed figure in Gungeon history, has been able to acquire them all. But it also has another implication that might be immediately obvious. The boss of Bullet Hell is the Lich. The Lich, upon being killed, instantly ends the game. Because it is the end of the game, there is nothing after. Not only is there no use for a Master Round at that point in the game, there is no possible opportunity for the player to even pick it up. If a Master Round was implemented into Bullet Hell, it would imply the existence of something else after Bullet Hell, which is something that the devs have implied they wanted to add, but more on this in another video. Now that we've covered all the items with descriptions, we move on to the items that we only have sprites on. There are a lot more items in this category, but I should get through each individual one quicker because there's a lot less to say on each one. I would like to point out that some of these items have had their sprites reused, mainly in the Gungeon Acquisitions department for decoration. I do believe that these sprites were meant to be items, because otherwise, why would they be stored with all the item sprites? Regardless, I'll still list them. Let's get started. Jeans and Alien Jeans Maybe. Jeans is just your bog standard pair of denim jeans, whereas Alien Jeans Maybe has an extra leg. Also, Alien Jeans Maybe spells genes as in the bits of DNA that control heredity, not the denim pants. So I guess that makes this a pun? Alien Jeans? Band-Aid. Due to the size of its sprites, the Band-Aid may have originally been a pickup and probably had something to do with healing. Beret. Has two different sprites and an odd spelling of the typical beret that seems to be a reference to the Barrett gun. I don't know how to pronounce Barrett, is it Barrett? I don't know how to pronounce the form of gun because I looked it up and I couldn't find any. Belt feeder. Might have been an original form of the drum clip, perhaps. Bink logo. This item's name and appearance is in reference to a video file format known as Bink. Bink files are primarily used for FMV sequences in video games, so that maybe has something to do with it. Blank personality. An expressionless version of the disarming personality using the color palette of the blank. The Ammonomicon entry of the Holy Grail is referred to internally as the blank personality description, so it's likely that the blank personality was renamed and reskinned into the Holy Grail, and may have had the same effects. Blue blood. An IV bag containing blue, presumably blood. Blue-blooded is a common term meaning royal, so that's probably where the idea for this item came from, though I have no idea why it's spelled B-L-O-O. Box green and box red. Identical boxes aside from their colours, they appear to contain shells. Bucket. It's a bucket. Bucket helmet. It's a bucket with a visor hole cut in it, presumably to be worn on the head. Bullet barrel. A dirty yellow barrel. Bubble shield. This item is actually functional in-game and behaves really weirdly. It's an active with sprites of small purple candy, similar but not identical to the magic sweet. It gives a brief version of the Potion of Leadskin effect, and charges every 2 rooms. Yeah, rooms. Unlike all other active items that charge with damage done, the Bubble Shield charges based on rooms cleared, like a Binding of Isaac item or something. Weird, but there's not that much more to it. Car Battery. May have either had something to do with electric damage or active item charge if we're working on Isaac logic. Cartographer's Assistant. A little grey and red doodad gizmo thing, what's it? I don't actually know what it is. Is it alive? It's described as an assistant. Is it a robot? This item may have had something to do with Woban, a famous cartographer in Gungeon lore responsible for the Gungeon blueprint among other things. Regardless, it will probably have had something to do with the map. Censorship. It's a black sensor bar. Chamber Hammer. A hammer using the cylinder of a gun as its head. Chest ahead messages. Now, I don't think these messages are the appearance of the actual item itself, and were probably meant to be the effect of some item, likely indicating the general direction of a chest. Then again, this is a lot of speculation, so think what you will. Cleats. Just some spiked boots. Climbing Glove. A big green glove. It's unclear what this item would actually do, since climbing isn't really a mechanic in Gungeon. The only real verticality-based mechanic I can think of would be pits that you fall down. Metacoin. A giant golden coin featuring a picture of a revolvernant skull on one side and a gun cylinder on the other. This coin has sprites for spinning, and that coupled with its name, Metacoin, means that this coin may have been a pickup as opposed to an item, namely an original form of the hegemony credit. A lot of things in the Breach are referred to as meta. For example, Cadence and Ox are meta shopkeepers. It would make sense to spend something known internally as the meta coin at a place known internally as the meta shop. Contract. A written contract marked with a red wax seal. My immediate thought is that of deals with demons, devils, or some other trickster entity, but it could just as easily be an employment contract. Crown. There are 2 different types of crown here, a golden one and a grey metal, probably lead one, inset with a red gem. Cup of Coffee. A simple cup of coffee subtitled with times 100 in reference to a Futurama episode in which 100 cups of coffee induces hyperspeed. The 100th cup of coffee is actually still referenced in Gungeon in the description of shotgun coffee, so it's likely that the idea for the cup of coffee was just recycled into the much more refined shotgun coffee. Deja Vu Ring. A ring significantly smaller than all others in the game, topped with a black cat. This seems to be a reference to the Matrix, in which a black cat's repeated actions are used as an example of deja vu. Demon Souls. Probably a reference to the game of the same name, it's likely that Demon Souls was a precursor item to the Gun Soul item that we have in the game today. Deposit Key. Considering the meaning of deposit, this is likely the key to something where something else was placed for safekeeping. Perhaps money. Dog Head. A rather grisly severed head of a greyish-black dog with pronounced teeth and red eyes. While perhaps barbaric, it'd probably be worse to try and hold the live version. Dog Tags. Perhaps something to do with the Marine, considering he's really the only military fellow in the game. Donut. It's just a donut. Double Helix. Perhaps an early version of the Helix Bullets item. Dragon Heart. A red recolor of the Heart of Ice item that, despite its name, looks nothing like the dragon's actual heart seen during his second phase. Egg Salad. Has 2 different designs. Maybe could have been a health upgrade if we're going off the video game food equals health logic. Elite Badge. I'm not sure if this is some sort of reference to another game, but maybe it was an early design for the Galactic Medal of Valor. Fat Man. A big ol' nuclear bomb. Possibly an early version of the Big Boy. Furks. Furks is probably my favourite description list cut item. I mean, just look at it! It's an angry little Terra Beyblade with a cute face. How could you not love it? Flexing Arm. Could have had something to do with strength. Flop Disc. Just a good old floppy disk. Flubber Bullet. Referencing the flying rubber from the 1961 film The Absent-Minded Professor, or more likely its 1997 remake, flubber bullets would likely have something to do with bouncing, since that's kinda what flubber is known for. In fact, the description of bouncy bullets is referred to internally as flubber bullets, meaning that flubber bullets was likely just renamed and reskinned into bouncy bullets. Fork Parker, an item referencing the fictional chief financial officer of Devolver Digital and protagonist of Dodgerol's first official game, Fork Parker. It also bears resemblance to the gunslinger's poncho, just with Fork Parker's face on it. Foz Die. I don't know who Foz is, but this item appears to be a fox or a dog or something holding a knife in its mouth. For a 3-in-1 special, meet the Gold Bracelet, Amethyst Bracelet, and Sapphire Bracelet. The Gold Bracelet has a slightly different design to the two gemstone-focused ones that are both visually similar to the Ruby and Emerald bracelets. If we're following the theme of the existing bracelets, these items would likely have each had a different effect on thrown guns. GRA Membership. A membership card for what I can only assume is the Gungeon Rifle Association, parodying the American NRA, or National Rifle Association. Group Photo. A Polaroid snap of what I assume to be the 4 main Gungeoneers. Gunstop Credit Chit. An obvious parody of the soul-sucking eldritch entity that parades itself around pretending to be a company known as GameStop. I'm assuming chit is a misspelling of chip on Dodgerol's part. Hair Trigger. Probably something to do with fire rate. Halo, not much else to say on this one. Hand Mirror, probably reflected bullets or something. Handkerchief. Again, I don't know what I can really extrapolate from this. From here on out, if I don't have anything to say about an item, I'll just say its name and move on. How about that? Horns. Clearly a symbol of the demon Illuminati gangster communist computer god. Ice Pack. Either something to do with coolness or the frost effect. I don't know. That's not me saying that, this sprite is literally called I dunno. It looks like a pair of goggles, but frankly, I dunno. Items. Again, a weird title to go with a really weird sprite. This was probably a debug or placeholder with a name like Items. There's some sort of green eye in a big green box? Item bullets. Key bullet bullets. Old designs for the key, both as an actual key and as a cartoonish gold doodad. Killamajig Machine Friendship. Possibly a companion? It doesn't have sprites for walking around or anything though, so we can't be sure. Knife. Could be a reference to Mother's knife from The Binding of Isaac. Alternatively, it could also have been the original appearance of knives summoned by the Knife Shield. Layer 1 and Layer 6. Weird, defaulty items with the appearance of a green tube and a grey bar reading 90 kilograms. Files for layers 2, 3, 4, and 7, no 5, exist but are just empty image files. Overall, I'm confused. This is probably some sort of debug? I don't know. Leaf. Lens. 2 different forms, one blue, one red. Lich bullets. May be an original design for Lich's eye bullets, but that's just a theory. A game theory. Liquid metal body. An obvious reference to the Terminator franchise. It took me a while to realize what its sprite portrayed before I realized it literally just spells out placeholder. Lump of space metal. These lumps can be seen floating around in the pilot's past. Magnet. Magnet helmet. An obvious reference to Magneto from X-Men. Master Exploder. Comes in 2 different forms, that of an abstract green V-shape and a classic red plunger box detonator. May have been the original form of the iBomb companion app. Another spicy item here in the form of a gnawed, tarnished rat master round, which was presumably intended to be given as a reward for defeating the resourceful rat without taking a single hit. I don't know, maybe it is in the game? It's not like anyone would ever get it anyways. Matchsticks. There are sprites for lit matchsticks spiraling through the air, so presumably it had something to do with throwing matches. Mortar. A simple mortar and pestle, though mortar is probably also a sly reference to the artillery variety. Mostosphere. A straight-up Pokeball with a misspelled name. Probably an early version of the Monster Ball. Moving box. Now, these moving boxes appear in challenge mode as part of the zone control modifier, but I don't know if that was their original intent, seeing as their sprites are stored among items despite them having nothing to do with any item. Also, why call them moving boxes? I mean, yeah, they're boxes and they move, but it's kind of a given. Muff. Maybe short for muffler? I hope it's short for muffler. Mugger-suds. Nerves of steel. The Ammonomicon entry for the riddle of lead is referred to internally as nerves of steel, meaning that nerves of steel may have just been renamed and reskinned into the riddle of lead. Next quarter. Could be a reference to financial quarters. Old man bullet.
The engineers these days, no respect. I'm too old for this shit.
Ooze. Comes in 3 different flavors, green, purple, and red. Perhaps it had something to do with creep? Pile of souls. While it bears resemblance to the soul lump left behind upon dying with gun soul, these are different sprites. Pill red yellow. While it is virtually identical to another sprite I'll get to later called Diazepam, it inexplicably has a different name. Pocket watch. Poncho. While it shares some similarities with the Gunslinger's poncho, namely colour scheme, it's definitely not the same one. Pouches. A collection of pockets and pouches, presumably for holding things. Power-up. There are actually 5 different unused power-up items, 3 of which spell power-up with a space, and 2 of which don't. There's a flat blue power-up, a green power-up with an L, and a purple power-up with either a D or a P. There's also these large red P power-ups with wings and crowns, one simply known as Power-Up and the other one known as Power-Up Plus. Purple ring. It bears resemblance to the gemstone inset into the staff that makes the staff a firepower, so they might be related. Radar. Ratbud. An unused companion seen in teaser images for the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons update and known internally as Ratbud. His effect is unknown. Rat-dye virus. A spiraling rat tail contained inside a glass vial. It's possible that this item was intended to kill off the resourceful rat and prevent him from stealing, but this benefit was instead given to the resourceful indeed transformation. Red button. Red pill. Another obvious Matrix reference. Red shoes and red shoes bigger. Both Sonic references, both likely increased movement speed, and both likely replaced by ballistic boots. Religion and Relidion. I'm not sure if Relidion is meant to be a joke, pun, or is just a typo. Regardless, religion is represented by the Christian cross, and Relidion is represented by the head of Isaac from the Binding of Isaac. Reversed polarity sonic screwdriver. A Doctor Who reference, clearly, but why specifically reversed polarity? It seems so specific. Ring of Boomerang Mastery. Maybe bullets come back? Ring of Invisibility. It has 2 different designs, one large, one small. Both rings are very clean and smooth, simple, elegant gold. Rock bullets. Rusty coin. May have originally been a pickup, considering that money in the Gungeon was originally going to be coins, but what would a rusty coin pickup even be worth? SARS mask. A medical mask referencing the ones worn in real life to protect against severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS. Scary mask. Shoulder holster. A shoulder-mounted cousin to the hip holster. Smart bullets. Itty-bitty noid bullets. Smoke twirl. May have actually been a visual effect associated with some item or another. That's the issue with Dodrell's asset organization. They leave a lot of stuff around, which is good for me, but they also leave stuff in weird places, so I can't trust that everything in an item sprite folder is an item, so when something inherently suspicious like this pops up, I gotta clarify that I'm just doing my best over here. Soul of a Lost Space Marine. May have had something to do with the Marine. Soul of an Automaton. May have had something to do with the robot. Space Pox Microbe. A bacterium of the space pox spread by the pox cannon. Spark Reactor Eneloop. As far as I can tell, Eneloop is a brand of long-life battery owned by Panasonic. This item is weirdly named. Speed Potion. An elixir in the vein of the Potion of Lead Skin or the Potion of Gun Friendship. If I had to guess, it was an active for a temporary speed-up. Stud Finder. Suit of Armo. This seems to use the sprites of the Gun Knight chestplate, but with extra bits of armoured sleeve. Summoning Book. A ratty book with animations for being flung open. There are also VFX animations for magical green orbs appearing and spiralling away, labelled as the Summoning Book's VFX. I'm assuming since this is animated, the Summoning Book would have been an active item that summoned something? Amazing insight, only on this channel. T-Stopper. The T likely stands for time, evidenced by the fact that the Ammonomicon entry of the Aged Bell is stored internally as T-Stopper, implying that the T-Stopper was renamed and reskinned into the Aged Bell. Table Tech Mirror. A table tech that probably made flipped tables reflective. Table Tech Time. A table tech that probably slowed down time when a table was flipped, an effect that was likely just given to Table Tech's sight instead. Table Tech Table Flip. A table tech that had something to do with sequential and possibly recursive table flips. Tauriner. A reference to a medical item of the same name in Yakuza. Terrible Ammo Bag. Terrible Leather Jacket. Maybe it had something to do with the terrible ammo bag? The Password. Setting aside that the password is apparently gun, the appearance of this item is used for the achievement The Password, that you get by accessing the hidden market via a demon face. In this context, the password may have had something to do with access to the hidden market. Thumbs Up. Two different forms, one slightly tilted. Tiger Eye. Other than the probable Eye of the Tiger reference, the item Broccoli's Ammonomicon entry is referred to internally as Eye of the Tiger. So the Tiger Eye may have been renamed and be read. You know what, you get the point by now, you get the point. Time Code Tattoo. Training Droid. Trash. Maybe an early form of junk? Treasure Map. A ratty map full of holes. Tweezers. This item dates back to the game's pre-alpha and was turned into the ammo synthesizer in the current version of the game, as evidenced by, you guessed it, the internal name of the AmmoSense Ammonomicon entry that calls it the Tweezers. 20-sided die. It's a D20, so obviously it's either going to be a D&D reference, a random effect, or both. Uranium. U92 references uranium's place on the periodic table, although it does sound like a boy band. X-ray. There are two very different forms of the X-ray, an X-ray printout of a human upper body. Who the hell is setting off fireworks? It's the middle of the day. Some people. Anyways, yeah, there are two different forms of the X-ray, an X-ray printout of a human upper body, and a simple green X. And finally, Z-shirt. Or, if you're American, a Z-shirt.
Do we call it a fucking zebra? You fucking barbarians?
The Z-shirt is yet another item that got recycled, and exposed as recycled thanks to its internal Ammonomicon entry name. In this case, it was turned into the coolness-giving ballot. What a cool Z-shirt. Oh, actually, there are two more things to add to this list. The Fat Laser and Secret Handshake are items that exist as image files, but are completely empty, like the layer files from earlier. I don't know why they're like this, but take it as you will. Okay, I didn't actually realize how many of those there were until I wrote out that entire part of the script, and I'm starting to long for the days before written language again. I've got a bit more to go over, but rest assured it won't take nearly as long as all that. As you may have noticed, a lot of times over the course of reading, I made reference to the fact that some items in the game have their description strings in the Ammonomicon stored under titles that are different to their current names. Whenever I found an item sprite that matched one of those names, I made note of it, since the old item was likely meant to fill that slot but got changed. I'm simply going to read the weird name and show an image of the item with its actual name on screen. Vampire Armor. Gaseous. Nimble Fingers. A Nice Smile. Secret of the Ooze. Condenser. Cathedral Crest. Slow Barrel. Pax Gun. Hammer of Dawn. Alright, before we continue, I'm gonna take a small break here. Let's look at something nice and cathartic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's much better. Moving on from completely weird items, there are also a bunch of old versions of items that still exist. I'll run through them quickly now. A fancier badge, a clone in a vat, cursed bullets with grey metal and red eyes, 3 different forms of diazepam, one being a really small red and yellow pill, one being a really large red and green pill, and one being a pill bottle, a much more rotund fat bullets, Forged Bullet, an early version of the bullet that can kill the past, as evidenced by the fact that all the bullet component sprites are referred to as Forged Bullet components, a crappier looking version of Fortune's Favor, a small med kit labelled as Health Pack, heavy bullets looking like some smooshed lead or a boot or something, a blast helmet with no place for a brain, magic bullets leaking purple smoke stuff, a metal skin potion, which is clearly an earlier form of the potion of lead skin, it even has the same sprite name, metronome being an actual metronome, nanomachines looking like a much smaller robot dude and grey, 2 different early forms of the number 2 headband, one labelled as the number 1 headband, presumably because that was its original name, a ration looking more like a biscuit or a bowl of food, a smoke bomb more resembling the regular bomb, this book called the Strategy Guide by its sprites. However, the military training item is also called Strategy Guide by its sprites, so we can assume that the Strategy Guide is simply a very early form of military training. We have 2 darker versions of the sunglasses item, one of which is labelled Sunglasses, Inexplicable Clothing Parentheses, Deal With It, Clothing Parentheses, and finally a bulkier, crappier version of the supply drop item labelled as the Walkie Derpy.
The ride never ends!
Next up, I'm going to blast through all the items in the game with sprites that aren't named appropriately for what they are. This'll make sense in a moment. I'm going to do what I did with the wrongly named text strings, just read the names, show the item. While there are a few typos in here, they're on Dodger's part, not mine. All of this is sic erat scriptum. Amber Blamulet, Better Bullet, Busted Dragon Boots, Chamber of Evil, Crown of the Coin King, Diazepam, Emerald Blamulet, Family Crest, Flame Shot, Future Time Mover, Happiness Maybe, Hero's Cape, Ice Carb, Loyalty Badge, Out Powers Combined, Overworldly Eye, Peep Boy, Plobulon, Quest for Vengeance, Raiden Ship, Ring of Corporeal Form, Ring of Snake, Ruby Blamulet, Sapphire Blamulet, Scorpion Hook, Cern Glasses, Spider Climb Boots, Stone Blamulet, Strategy Guide, Table Tech Pierce, and Amethyst Blamulet. Okay, I have one final collection to show you today. It seems as though certain active items were meant to have synergy forms that altered their appearance, like a lot of guns do, but these synergy forms were never implemented. Either these synergies just don't exist in the final game, or they do exist but they don't change the item's appearance. I could only find 5. 1. The Boomerang with the appearance of a Batarang, presumably for the Gunnerang synergy with the Utility Belt. 2. A Jar of Wasps appearance for the Jar of Bees, presumably for the B+ synergy with the Honeycomb. 3. An upgraded golden form of the Trusty Lockpicks, presumably for the unused reinforced lockpick synergy with the Master of Unlocking. This synergy would have buffed the lockpick success chance to 80%, hence the gilded, beautiful lockpick appearance. 4. A blue form of the Napalm Strike labelled as Napalm Water. While this one isn't as obvious, I'd guess it was for use in the Napalm B synergy with the Mega Dowser, since, fire water. And 5. A fancy, beefier version of the supply drop with a nice grip. This one also seems to be used for an unknown synergy known as Supply Drop Update, in reference to the Major Gungeon update of the same name. This synergy was between the Supply Drop and the Galactic Medal of Valor, and had an unknown effect. Okay, it's all done. I'm really sorry if this video dragged on for a while. I've just noticed myself missing things and making a lot of mistakes in videos gone past. And I didn't want this video to be that. I wanted to be completely comprehensive, even if it meant it took a while, which is why I went as far as to root out weird item names and text strings. I told myself I wasn't going to let anything slip through the cracks, at least content-wise. I've probably missed a reference somewhere and I'm going to get a bunch of comments about that. Also, maybe I've missed a passive item or something. It's really difficult to be comprehensive when it comes to Gungeon files. You need to actually see them. Anyways, after that little wind down, I hope you found at least 2 things in this video mildly interesting. I've got to go, I've got to go sleep, honestly. I've got to sleep. I'm so tired. See ya. Belt feeder. Might have been an original... A simple cup of coffee She sells seashells on the seashore. She sells seashells on the seashore. I will speak the words correctly. Vocal exercises make you sound ridiculous. Since the old item was likely meant to fill that slot, but got changed. Ah, fuck!